Feeling weak? That's exactly when God's strength shows up the most. Welcome to your daily bread. Let's be honest. There are days when you just feel worn out. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, everything feels heavy. Maybe you've been trying to hold everything together, but it seems like life keeps piling on more than you can handle. And in those moments, it's easy to feel like giving up. But here's the truth you need to hear today. God's strength is made perfect in your weakness. Sometimes we think we have to be strong all the time, that we have to figure everything out on our own. But God never asked you to carry that burden alone. In fact, He invites you to do the opposite, to bring your weakness, your struggles, and your exhaustion to Him. Paul, one of the most influential apostles, understood this better than anyone. In 2 Corinthians 12:9, he shares something profound. After begging God to take away a challenge he was facing, God responded with, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Paul didn't get the answer he expected, but what he got was even better: the promise of God's grace and strength. Think about that for a moment. The very areas where you feel the most inadequate are the places where God's power shines the brightest. When you're at your lowest, God is lifting you up. When you feel like you've got nothing left to give, God steps in with more than enough. God uses the broken. The Bible is filled with stories of people who felt too weak, too flawed, or too broken to be used by God. Yet those were the very people He chose to accomplish incredible things. Moses doubted his ability to lead because of his speech, but God used him to deliver an entire nation. Gideon saw himself as the weakest of the weak, but God used him to defeat an entire army with only 300 men. Peter denied Jesus 3 times, but God restored him and built His church through him. These stories remind us that God isn't looking for perfect people. He's looking for willing hearts. Your weakness doesn't disqualify you. It qualifies you for God's strength. Grace for every day. God's grace isn't a one-time thing. It's not just for the big moments. It's for the everyday struggles, the moments when you're overwhelmed, and even the times when you fall short. Maybe you feel like you've failed too many times. Maybe you're battling anxiety, fear, or insecurity. Maybe life has thrown challenges at you that feel impossible to overcome. But here's what you need to remember. God's grace is enough. It's enough for today. It's enough for tomorrow. And it's enough for every challenge you'll ever face. When you feel like you're at the end of your rope, that's when God says, "I've got you." When you feel like you can't take another step, God says, "Lean on me." Isaiah 40:29 reminds us, He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. God isn't asking you to be perfect. He's asking you to trust Him, to come to Him with your weaknesses and allow Him to fill in the gaps. Practical steps to lean on God's strength. So how do you lean on God's strength when you feel weak? 1. Pray. Honestly, don't hold back. Tell God exactly how you feel. He's not looking for polished words. He's looking for a genuine heart. 2. Stay in His Word. Scripture is filled with promises of strength, grace, and hope. When you feel weak, open the Bible and let His Word refresh your soul. 3. Rest in His presence. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is simply rest. Find a quiet moment to sit with God, breathe, and let His peace wash over you. 4. Surround yourself with faith. Lean on your faith community. Let others pray for you, encourage you, and remind you that you're not alone. 5. Declare His promises. Speak God's promises over your life. Remind yourself daily that His strength is made perfect in your weakness. You don't have to have it all together. You don't have to have all the answers. All you need is to lean on the one who does. God's strength is enough. Life will have its challenges. There will be days when you feel like you've got nothing left. But in those moments, remember this: God's grace is sufficient, His strength is enough, and His love for you never runs out. Today, take a deep breath. Let go of the pressure to be strong all the time. Hand your burdens over to God and allow His strength to carry you through. 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." So embrace your weakness, because it's in those moments that God's power shines the brightest. That's your daily bread. Stay blessed, and I'll see you next time.